Donald Trump is more than open to pardoning Diddy, but he wants to wait to see what the judge does in terms of the latest bail petition as they will wait.
All right, so here's the situation. Sean Diddy Combs is still locked up, and at first it looked like just another celebrity getting caught up in the system. But now, things are taking a wild turn. He offered $50 million to get out on bail, $50 million, and the judge still said nope. Not even a Miami mansion and private security could sway the court. But here's where it gets really crazy. His legal team isn't just fighting in court anymore. They've shifted their entire strategy. They're aiming way higher, straight for the White House. Yeah, you heard that right. Donald Trump, the same guy Diddy once publicly blasted, might actually be considering a full presidential pardon. From enemies to potential saviors, that's the kind of twist you don't see coming. And just when you think the story couldn't get any messier, one of Diddy's alleged victims steps out of the shadows, not to condemn him, but to defend him, calling him a changed man, a better father, someone worth giving another shot. At this point, the line between guilt, redemption, and politics is starting to blur. Everyone's taking sides, and the truth, it's tangled in power, fame, and agendas. So what's really going on behind the scenes? Is this justice, or just another chapter in the celebrity circus? And could Trump, of all people, actually be the one to set Diddy free?
Once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours. Would you ever consider pardoning him?
I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
Stick with me, because this story goes way deeper than you think. And by the end of this video, you're gonna look at the whole case very differently. The bail denial bombshell. Judge Arun Subramanian made it clear, money doesn't buy freedom, at least not this time. Despite a jaw-dropping $50 million bail offer and promises to stay confined to his Miami mansion, Sean Diddy Combs was once again denied release. The judge ruled there were no exceptional reasons to justify letting him out before sentencing. That's now the second time Diddy's been shut down, and each time the message gets louder. This case isn't just about celebrity status or flashy headlines. It's about something deeper. The court isn't just looking at what's on paper. They're looking at the bigger picture, the pattern, the power dynamics. And no amount of private jets or gated properties could convince the judge otherwise. What's even more telling, the court didn't hesitate. It wasn't a close call or a long deliberation. It was firm, final, denied. But if you think Diddy's legal team took that decision lying down, think again, because what they're arguing now could flip this entire case on its head. Diddy's defense, unprecedented case? Diddy's legal team is calling this case one of a kind, and not in a good way. They argue he might be the only person in America sitting in a jail cell over this kind of Mann Act violation, which in this case involved transporting individuals across state lines for what they claim were fully consensual adult encounters. According to his defense, there's no legal precedent for denying bail in cases like this, especially when the accused has no history of fleeing and poses no threat to public safety. They're painting Diddy not as a criminal, but as a scapegoat, a high-profile target caught in a legal gray area, surrounded by headlines and public pressure. His lawyers say the relationships were voluntary, not exploitative, and that the prosecution is stretching the law to make an example out of him. On paper, it sounds like a strong argument, even reasonable. But prosecutors, they're not just rejecting it, they're doubling down, because according to them, this case isn't about technicalities or loopholes, it's about what was really happening behind closed doors. And they claim the truth is far darker than what Diddy's team is letting on. The darker allegations. The real reason behind the denied bail, it wasn't just the charges, it was what the judge saw behind them. Judge Subramanian pointed to disturbing evidence of violence, coercion, and subjugation tied to Diddy's actions, painting a picture far more serious than what the surface-level charges suggest. We're not just talking about technical violations or paperwork here. We're talking about allegations of control, manipulation, and abuse of power. Even though Diddy wasn't formally charged with racketeering or sex trafficking, the court made it clear. The behavior described in witness statements and evidence files hints at a pattern that's impossible to ignore. It's not just about what he did, it's about how he did it, who was involved, and who got hurt along the way. And in the eyes of the judge, it wasn't just risky, it was dangerous. This wasn't a matter of celebrity favoritism or media noise. The court looked at the details, the tone, the testimonies, and what emerged was a narrative that raised serious red flags. So while the world fixated on the $50 million offer, the judge saw something money couldn't erase, a potential threat to others if released. So what about that massive bail offer? Let's break it down, and why even a fortune couldn't buy his freedom. $50 million on the table. Diddy didn't just throw money at the problem, he practically backed a Brinks truck up to the courthouse. His team proposed a $50 million bond, house arrest at his luxury Miami mansion, ankle monitoring, and strict travel limits between Florida and New York. They even agreed to round-the-clock surveillance if needed. On paper, it looked like a deal few judges would turn down, especially for a non-violent charge. But Judge Subramanian didn't blink. He didn't care about mansions, money, or private security, because to him, this wasn't about wealth, it was about trust. And right now, Diddy hasn't earned it. The court made it clear, this case isn't just about logistics or legal arguments, it's about behavior and the potential danger that comes with releasing someone accused of using power and influence to control others. No amount of luxury confinement could undo what the judge believes lies at the heart of this case. And even $50 million, a sum that could change lives, wasn't enough to outweigh the risks tied to Diddy's release. And while that offer was being rejected in a courtroom, Diddy himself was dealing with an entirely different kind of battle behind bars: jail conditions and threats. Diddy's attorneys didn't just argue the law, they raised serious alarms about his safety. They painted a picture of a man who went from private jets and gated mansions to cold steel bars and real danger. According to his team, MDC Brooklyn isn't just overcrowded, it's chaotic, unpredictable, and flat-out unsafe. One particularly alarming incident involved an inmate allegedly threatening Diddy with violence, forcing a response from jail staff. His lawyers say he's a high-profile target, and that just being there puts him at constant risk. For someone used to having full control of his environment, the sudden vulnerability of jail is more than just uncomfortable, it's a psychological and physical threat. But the judge? He wasn't convinced. While he acknowledged the threat, he ruled that the facility responded appropriately, and that for now, Diddy is safe. The message was clear. Celebrity status doesn't buy special treatment, even when your safety's on the line. Still, the clock is ticking, the pressure is mounting, and the public spotlight isn't fading anytime soon. And in a twist that no one, not even Diddy himself, saw coming, his next and only real hope might not come from a court of law at all. It might come straight from the White House. Trump's involvement, a presidential wildcard. Donald Trump isn't ruling anything out, but he's definitely not forgetting the past. In a recent interview, Trump admitted he and Diddy were once on friendly terms, even calling him a nice guy.
Once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours. Would you ever consider pardoning him?
I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
The two shared mutual respect in the early 2000s, both powerful, both media savvy, and both larger-than-life figures in their own lanes. But things took a sharp turn. When Trump launched his presidential campaign, Diddy didn't just distance himself, he publicly criticized Trump, joining other celebrities who spoke out against him. That public betrayal, Trump remembers it. In fact, he's admitted that kind of hostility could cloud our judgment, especially when it comes to something as serious as a pardon. Still, despite the rocky history and personal jabs, sources close to Trump say he's more than open to the idea of granting Diddy a pardon, especially if it makes political sense. Trump has always played chess, not checkers. A high-profile, controversial pardon could energize some supporters, distract from his own legal issues, or even help him appeal to younger, more diverse voters. But make no mistake, this move would come with major backlash too. Critics would call it self-serving, others might see it as bold. Either way, it would make headlines around the world. But here's the thing, Diddy's not just counting on Trump's ego or political calculations. Behind the scenes, he's brought in serious legal muscle. The kind that knows how to work media narratives, influence public opinion, and even sway presidential decisions. Mark Geragos, pardon him. It's not just whispers behind closed doors. High-profile attorney Mark Geragos is saying it out loud. Donald Trump should pardon Diddy. And this isn't just some detached legal analysis, it's personal. Geragos' own daughter, Tenny Geragos, was part of Diddy's defense team, giving him an inside view of the case's inner workings. In a blunt airport interview, Mark didn't hold back. He called a potential pardon a great decision, not just from a legal standpoint, but as a bold, strategic political move for Trump. In his eyes, Diddy isn't being treated like a man under investigation, he's being treated like a symbol, punished more for public perception than actual precedent. Geragos argued that the charges don't align with how Diddy's being punished, suggesting the justice system is sending a message, one that might be more about optics and headlines than fairness. And let's not forget, Geragos has represented some of the most controversial clients in modern history. He knows how political pressure and media narratives can warp the legal process. To him, Diddy's case reeks of overreach. But as powerful as Geragos' words were, they were nothing compared to what came next. Because out of nowhere, one of Diddy's alleged victims, someone the world expected to be on the other side of this fight, stepped forward. And she didn't come to condemn him, she came to defend him. Diddy's ex speaks out. In a moment no one saw coming, one of the most critical voices in Diddy's story has turned out to be one of support. Gina Huang, labeled victim 3 in the federal indictment, just submitted a heartfelt letter to the judge, pleading for leniency. It's a shocking move, especially considering that she was subpoenaed to testify during the investigation but never appeared in court. Now, instead of condemning Diddy, she's offering a defense that's as personal as it is powerful. Gina says Diddy isn't the same man she once knew, and she doesn't say it lightly. According to her, he's changed deeply in recent years. She describes a man who's grown calmer, more present, and more focused on being a good father. She paints a picture not of a manipulative mogul, but of someone who's trying to rebuild, not just his reputation, but his relationships. The violence, she implies, belongs to the past. Today, she says, he's a different person, one grounded in family, not fame. And perhaps most surprising of all, Gina says she believes Diddy would respect every single condition the court might impose if granted bail. She's not asking the court to forget the past, but to recognize that people can evolve, that forgiveness and fairness can exist at the same time. But will the judge or the public buy it? Now, all eyes are locked on October 3rd, the day Sean Diddy Combs faces sentencing, and possibly the biggest turning point of his life. Until then, he remains behind bars. No bail, no deal, and no clear path forward, unless Donald Trump decides to make one. And that's what makes this story so surreal. The same president Diddy once called out publicly, the same man he clashed with during the campaign trail, might now be the only person who can set him free. Love him or hate him, Trump holds the wild card. And this isn't just a legal case anymore, it's a national power play, where celebrity, politics, and justice all collide. Because in the end, a $50 million check couldn't unlock the cell doors, but a single presidential signature just might. So now I want to hear from you. Is this justice being served, or is the system playing favorites? Should Trump step in, or should he stay far away? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'll be reading them. And if you want to stay on top of this wild story as it unfolds, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Because trust me, what happens next, it's going to shake things up.